Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Scale Smart podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and also the founder of Next Scale Growth. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Joe Brundige, who is the founder of Hey Joe. Hey Joe is a mobile auditioning and remote filming platform. Joe, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Jacob. Appreciate it.
So, Joe, before we get into the flow of the podcast, do you mind telling me and also the audience a little bit more about your background and what you guys actually do at Hey Joe?
Sure. So I have a background both in tech and in casting and sort of production. So I started my career working just in the film production in New York City and Los Angeles. Then I started working in commercial and television casting.
Mhm.
Had a casting company for several years, but also was very tech oriented. Learned how to code in my 20s, and I could see like this is the way the world was going. I should learn things, right? I've just Hey Joe really is a mashup of those two things. But along the way, and I think this is how you found me. I've done e-com. I've done just traditional web development for brands and for companies. So just kind of had a broad experience over the last 15 or so years, and it's led me to this.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so with Hey Joe, who would you say is your typical people who you like to target?
So we started it as a service forecasting, and we just happened to launch during the pandemic. It wasn't planned that way, but just got like a great boost from everything going virtual at that time. And all of a sudden had a bunch of not only casting directors using it, but we were also streaming from set for a couple of years actually. And that really gave us a great boost of just having a built-in customer base that needed the platform. And all that user feedback really allowed us to refine things. And then it really help us make the case for the use case we have today, which is now we're going not only after casting directors, but brands to use the service.
And I think scaling any business, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're in software development, whether you're in casting, whether you're in web development, AI, there's always challenges and there's always hurdles which come in from scaling a business. So,
Sure.
Joe, what would you say were the biggest hurdles you had to overcome that you overcome now? But then what would you say are some of the biggest hurdles and challenges which you're encountering right now in the business?
Gosh, it just really always comes down to resourcing. That's what I've learned. Like you always need more than you think you're going to need. I'm sure you hear that a lot on this
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely.
And so it's just that you just got to make the excuse me, you got to squeeze everything out of the people that are working with you. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like try to elevate the performance of the people that are working with you, no matter what their rate is, or if they're on salary or they're freelance. And then try to access as many dollars, whether it's through the platform that you're using to scale your tech business on, or other means of funding. But you got to stay ahead. You can't just stay where you are, especially in this day and age. You're going to have to keep moving one way or another. Yeah.
Definitely. So what would you say you're doing in order to make sure you're always staying top of mind and you're actually prospecting to the right people and always scaling the business to that next level?
Yeah. I mean, we have a couple weekly stand-ups about it. So, chasing, we spend 10% of our time chasing completely new business, right? Another 10%, I'm talking about just the reach out marketing time, another 10 to 15%, making sure our existing customers are happy. And then, like 50% of the time planning ad campaigns and doing social posts and things like that. But yeah, those are the main things that we, and just getting a lot of feedback along the way, talking.
Definitely. I think feedback is key, which I think a lot of people neglect.
Yeah.
And it's something I've seen so happen so many times in within multiple different spaces. And obviously you come from a background of ecom and so do I as well. And I think if you put it into an ecom perspective, if you have a product, you want to find out more from the customers buying your product about what you could improve on, whether it's the scent, whether it's the
Mhm.
size, whether it's the design, whether it's the how it applies to your skin, if it's a cream, or how it fits into a certain compartment. There's loads of different aspects which you can take into an account in terms of feedback, which is going to be so much more valuable than you spending time trying to figure it out yourself.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yep.
Because time is money.
Yep.
Time is money.
And I think the biggest trap, you see it all the time, whether you're watching Shark Tank or talking to other people that are trying to build their businesses, is people just get so wrapped up in building and like wanting to sit in a room and build new features out and wait till things are perfect, but there's no perfect. And just
Yes.
because you like something doesn't mean your customers are going to engage with it. So
Definitely.
yeah,
And you just made a really, really good point there. And I absolutely love this saying. There's no such thing as perfect time. I do not believe in it whatsoever, because when you think that perfect time is right, somebody else has already got there and beat you to it.
right.
And I'm a very, very big believer in that. When people tell me, I'm going to start this new thing, but I'm not going to start it for another 3 to 4 months, or I've got this idea, but I'm not going to execute on it for another 6 to 12 months because we've just got a few things which we're just dealing with. And I'm like, you do understand the cost of inaction of you waiting.
That's right.
Somebody is going to take that opportunity. If you found that opportunity now, in a month's time, someone else is going to find.
That's right. And things are just getting faster and faster that way. So one of the best pieces of advice I got starting was I brought like an early prototype of our virtual, auditioning system into a company. And one of the executives there said, Joe, the best thing you could do is fake as much as possible and test things out. Like, don't build it out. Like if you wanted to display something or get, have customers interact with your app in a certain way, try to fake that interaction. Don't build, like, even if it takes manual work on your end for every job, and see if people like it. And then if they like it, then go build it. So testing as much as possible for the lowest risk rate as possible I think the biggest key.
Yeah, definitely. And this saying, which I got told as well, which has really, really resonated with me in terms of testing and actually getting out to people. And it's like, if you was to start a pen company, if you was to have 1,000 customers waiting at the door, but no pen in production yet, or you had the pen in production, but zero customers, you're
Hmm.
obviously going to pick 1,000 customers waiting, and then you'll figure the pen out later.
Exactly.
You'll
Yeah.
figure that out later.
Right.
And people think everything has to be so perfect all the time, and it just doesn't. Like, the main thing is getting people in the door. And then when they're in the door, you can figure it out. Because at
Exactly.
least you've got them in the door in the first place. And that's the main thing. Client acquisition, client acquisition, client acquisition.
Yep.
Then you can figure it out later.
Yeah, and people underestimate the amount of pain their customers will tolerate. Like if they like your brand, like we've had days where, like huge surge of customers on the site and things go, especially during COVID, things break. We didn't have the back end ready. Zoom went through that. A lot of brands have gone through that. And if people like your brand, they're going to tell, especially if you're contrite about it, if you're humble about it, you reach out to all
Mhm.
the customers and say exactly what happened and what you're going to fix. So don't I would say don't stress so much about things. Things are gonna break, and
Definitely.
yeah. So it's not a reason to not go forward.
Yeah. And it's customer relationships, which is so, so important. And
Exactly.
if you work with a customer and they leave after one thing breaks, I'm like, the door is there, it's wide open, out you go. Because you don't want to be working with them type of people.
That's right.
And you'd rather build up the relationship, because things will break. Like, for example, in my company, with the company that I do, in terms of outreach and building tools, there might be times where we have to pause things because certain things haven't gone right, or we need to refine certain things. And if I didn't have a relationship with the client, that could seem really, really bad. They're like, "Oh, we've paid Jacob this money, and they're not doing everything at this exact moment because this has gone wrong." But if you've got the relationship, they understand and they resonate with you.
Hmm.
And I say, I would rather not work with somebody who isn't going to have a relationship with me. I would just go, the door's there, see you later. Because I know I'm going to get another client within the next week or so.
Right. Exactly. It actually opens you up to get that new client. Because you're not worried.
Definitely.
You're not worried about this problem client.
Yes.
I
And I
think.
think, and that all comes down to leverage as well. Like, the more leverage you have is the more you can kind of open the door and say, there's the door, see you later.
Hmm.
I remember when I was at the start of my company, ecom, and also the NetScale growth business development side of things, I was just like, I'm here. Everybody come in, because I just wanted all of the clients. And then you kind of come back and you're like, right, okay, now I need to actually sort out the operations. I need to sort out this. I need to sort out that. But you get to a point where if you have a client who comes in and the relationship isn't there, you can open the door and you can leave, because I know I'm going to get a client better than you in the next week or so. I want you, but I don't need you.
And there's probably a better match for that person out there. Like, and not everyone's supposed to work with everybody, and that's why.
100%, 100%. And Joe, I think given the rise of many, let's say, remote casting and video audition tools coming
Mhm.
up and that are already out there, what would you say are some of the key differentiators that you guys are doing at Hey Joe to really stand out in the market?
So our initial key differentiator is we built our own video chat platform, which nobody is crazy enough to do.
Okay.
So everyone else does most of these apps traditionally have only done self tapes. Like you audition at home. There's a couple that have ventured into building out their own. Like there's a company called Breakdown Services here in the US that built their own, but they offer it for free. And not to disparage anybody, but if you offer it for free, you're not like, what's the incentive to keep building it out? What is that getting you? So so we we charge for our service, and we say, listen, you're paying to get excellent service, you're paying for an excellent platform, and I think you're going to realize that your clients are going to love the experience. We're going to take all the feedback. We're going to be there every minute of every day that you're using the product to make sure you're getting the best experience. And so we just kind of are rooted in this belief that premium tools deserve a premium price, and
Yes,
the market for that. Yeah.
definitely. And again, you made a good point there as well. And it's like people want things for nothing and people want things for free. If you had everything for free, you wouldn't do everything because you've got no reason to keep on going.
Right.
You've not, like, for example, you haven't invested $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. You've invested nothing. So you've got nothing to lose. Whereas if you invest and you put your skin in the game, you have something to lose. So you're more incentivized to do the work. So I think that's really important. And as well with premium products, premium services, premium models. You charge a premium, and I get it all the time. And people come back to me and they go, well, Jacob, we've got this person who can do this and they can do that, and they're charging $3,000 less than you." And I'm like, okay, well, do they do this? Have they got this? Do they do this? Do they integrate with this? Do they do that? And they're like,
Mhm.
no. And I'm like, there you go. That's why
Yeah.
it's at $3,000.
Right. So I'm curious to know on your side, what are you seeing? Like we've noticed in our ecom business, a big dip in brands pulling things in house or going to vendors that say they can do it all because now they think they can with AI. What are you seeing on your side with that?
So we're seeing a lot of that as well. And what we've seen a lot is people are going more to external in terms of that because they're sick of the hassle of having to hire in-house in terms of like benefits, having to train them all up, having to do everything. So we're seeing that a lot in the industry as well, because I think it's traditional to want people in-house and people to be fully involved in your business. I think is natural. And I think for some cases it's very needed. Like for example, developers. I think developers need to be working purely on your business and be working fully so you can align with them. But I think when it comes to client acquisition, marketing, potentially sales type roles, and I think it makes more sense to outsource these things because you haven't got all of the headache to manage all these people, and they're more incentivized to want to work with you, whereas other people kind of see it as like, let's just say another stomping ground. Because essentially, all they'll do is they'll come to you, it didn't work out, they go to another employer, another employee. Whereas, like, if you work with someone external,
Hmm.
they're more incentivized to work because if they just keep churning clients, they're not going to have a business where there's always going to be a job for somebody. There's
Yeah.
always going to be a job. And that's what we're seeing a lot. We're seeing a lot of people doing more external work, especially in our space as well. A lot of people we speak to said we've literally cut our whole sales team because they're costing me $80,000 a year and they're not delivering any results. And then I'm like, right, okay, we've got a big problem here. We need to completely do this, do that, do this. And they're like, just tell me what we could do and let's execute. And I think it's really important as well for people to notice that kind of shift. I think people aren't noticing it yet.
Yeah, totally. I think there's going to be a lot of talk about efficiencies moving forward, because I think, I've been working a lot with Claude Code. I've been working a lot with AI. Like it is great for
Mm,
certain things. And it's definitely it has made my business more efficient. But
mm.
the human element, the creative human element we can bring to these tools, the people that learn to figure that out are really going to exceed in this new environment, I think. And it reminds me of was recently listening to the Sean Ryan podcast with the
Mm,
CEO of Supersonic, and he was
okay.
talking about NASA for the last 20 years has been trying to build the perfect jet to go supersonic in any variable at any time, and spent billions of dollars trying to figure this out, and they still haven't gotten there because there's probably no perfect answer. And all this guy did, I love this story because all he did was figure out, okay, the supersonic boom travels in an arc, and it travels at an arc differently based on the air temperature and the air pressure. So all we have to
Mm,
do is build a sensor that figures out the air temperature and air pressure and tells you what altitude to go to, where it's safe to fly over land and go the speed of sound. So
mm.
that's like something that he creatively figured out in like however many months, and now that's what they're doing rather than try to build the perfect airplane. I don't know. So again, I think this is a good way to wrap, but like it's not about perfection. You got to, in this new world, think of creative ideas and how do you separate yourself and be more efficient than.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
I think as well, I saw something when Elon Musk was building SpaceX and all the rockets and things like that, and he'd spent millions on the first launch, didn't work. Spent
Yep. Yep.
millions on the second launch,
Right. Didn't
didn't
work.
work.
Yeah.
And they were like, "What are you going to do the third time round?" And he basically turned around and he said, "It doesn't work. I'll do it again,
Yep. Yep.
and I'll keep
Exactly.
doing it and doing it and doing it
Yep.
until it
Yeah.
works."
Because I know this can work. I mean,
Yes.
as long as you have that and you have the basis to know it can work, and he did obviously because it's working now. But you just have to, there's a fine line there, right? Because sometimes things just aren't going to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I think if you've got the data to
Yeah.
back you up that it will work,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
no matter how long you stick at it, it will work eventually.
Right.
It will work eventually. It might not be profitable, but it will work.
Right. Right. That's true. Yeah.
Joe, just to finish off now, I want to learn more about what you guys have got planned in terms of expansion and growing the company to that next level. So, what would you say some of the goals in the next 6 to 12 months, Joe, you've got in terms of getting the company to that certain level? Maybe expanding into some different regions, growing the revenue, growing the
Yeah.
growth. What would you say?
Yep, we're talking a lot about regions. We're really, we're since we have like this end-to-end platform now where you can do your casting and then do your shoot as well. So you book your
Mm,
talent, and this is not what we're doing is opening the world up to not just, excuse me, like a UGC influencer agency and those guys are great what they do, and I'm glad they exist. But we're saying, listen, you can book your internal employees, you could book a SAG actor, and you can do your whole casting process and make sure you get the person you want, and then go do your live shoot all virtually, get a polished on brand video for probably a third of the price, or maybe even less than you traditionally have done it, and it's all right there in one platform. So
mhm,
we're trying to build a flywheel from casting all the way through to the end of production, where we can maybe reduce the cost that we're charging on the front end to our existing customer base, and also be delivering this great product to brands. We just did a whole rebranding. We're going to be just doing a ton of outreach and trying to get that message out there, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to come on your podcast, because any chance I can get to get that message out, that we really believe we have a great platform that really delivers a lot of opportunity to people who are creators.
definitely, definitely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. It's been great having a discussion with you today. I feel like we've gone down a few rabbit holes in the
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
but no, it's been great speaking to you. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jacob.
Pleasure. Thank you.